Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters, wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah. In the past episode, we gave an introduction to the book, an overview of the Islamic theory on wealth and poverty. And we said that the main question answered within this beautiful book is, does Allah want us to live in a state of poverty, or does He want us to seek wealth? We discussed how there are two groups of seemingly contradicting narrations regarding this topic. There are narrations that praise poverty and condemn wealth, and there are narrations that praise wealth and condemn poverty. We said how the author within this book presents 7 reconciliation methods that reconcile the apparent contradiction between these two groups of narrations. Inshallah, today we begin with the first reconciliation method. The first reconciliation method one can implement to reconcile some of these narrations regarding poverty and wealth is to say that the word poverty has different usages, it has different meanings. Some of these usages and meanings are condemned, and some of these usages of poverty are praised. And with that, the contradiction between the narrations that condemn and praise poverty is lifted. The narrations that condemn poverty are discussing a certain type of poverty, a certain usage of the word poverty, and the narrations that are praising poverty are praising another usage or meaning of poverty. To understand this better, let's discuss the different usages that the word poverty, faqr, has within our narrations and the verses of the Holy Quran. When we search within our narrations, we see that the word poverty, faqr, has 4 different usages, 4 different meanings within the narrations of Ahlul Bayt. The first usage of the word poverty, the first meaning, is our poverty before God, our dependence, reliance, and neediness to the Creator. This is the first usage of the word faqr, the word poverty. The second is religious poverty, to lack religion, to lack faith. This is directly opposite of the first usage of poverty. The first usage of poverty is for you to recognize and acknowledge your neediness and dependence on the all-powerful Creator. And this usage means for you to neglect that neediness, neglect that dependence, for you to neglect deen. It's a lack of faith and belief. The third usage of the word poverty is poverty of the soul, or inner poverty, spiritual poverty. This poverty manifests itself as a soul that is never content, a soul that's always looking over its shoulder, a soul that's always running after its desires. This soul within our narration that has these attributes is described as an impoverished soul. The fourth usage of the word poverty, or faqr, is material poverty, financial poverty, which means neediness in regards to money, wealth, and possessions, worldly possessions. Now, some of these usages of the word faqr, or poverty, are condemned, and others are praised. When we look at it at this angle, there is no more contradiction between the narrations regarding poverty. When we see narrations that condemn poverty, they are condemning a certain usage of the word poverty. And when we see a narration that praises the word poverty, it's praising another usage of the word poverty. Now let's analyze the narrations of Ahlul Bayt that use these different usages and meanings of the word poverty, and see which forms of poverty are praised and which forms of poverty are condemned. The first usage that we discussed was poverty, or a sense of neediness and dependence on Allah. This usage has been clearly displayed within the Holy Quran. Allah in the Holy Quran says, Ya ayyuhan nas antumul fuqara'u ila Allah, wallahu huwal ghaniyyul hamid. O humankind, you are in a state of poverty, utter need before God, and God is the self-sufficient, the praiseworthy. The Quran here says, Antumul fuqara. It's using the word poverty in a certain usage, and the usage that we discussed, which is poverty before the Holy Creator, Allah. This form of poverty, for you to acknowledge and sense and believe wholeheartedly with every fiber of your being that you, your existence, your soul, your body, the continuation of your existence is all dependent on Allah, this form of poverty. And this mindset of acknowledging this need and dependence on Allah is praised within the narrations. We are told by the Ahlul Bayt to seek this form of poverty, to believe and acknowledge wholeheartedly that everything we have, our existence and the continuation of our existence and all the blessings we have is all dependent on Allah. This is a form of poverty that is praised. Within the dua and ad'iyah of Ahlul Bayt, they teach us to ask Allah for this poverty. Within this beautiful dua, the Imams teach us to ask Allah, Allahumma aghnini bil iftiqar ilayk. Oh God, enrich me through my dependence on you. Increase the acknowledgement of my dependence on you. And do not allow me the poverty of thinking myself independent of you. Here within this dua, the Ahlul Bayt are giving us a new meaning of the words poverty and wealth. They say the wealthy person isn't a person who has possessions. He isn't a person who has more houses, more money, more worldly positions. No, the wealthy person, the true wealthy person is the person who actually feels deep down his dependence on Allah. And the poor person, the truly poor person, the person that has nothing, is the person that feels he is independent from Allah, that he does not need Allah, that he does not need to rely on Allah. The Ahlul Bayt are telling us that true wealth is found in recognizing your need for God, feeling that need deeply. The hadith of the Prophet we mentioned in the first episode, Al-Faqru Fakhri, وَبِهِ أَفْتَخِرُ عَلَى سَائِرِ الْأَنْبِيَاءِ. Poverty is my pride, and by it I boast over all the prophets. The word poverty here can be interpreted within this usage. The Prophet had a higher acknowledgement of his poverty toward Allah, his dependence on Allah. He had a stronger connection with Allah, and that connection and that acknowledgement of dependence on Allah is what grants him great pride over the rest of the prophets. And this does not negate that material poverty is also intended within the narration. This is the first usage of the word poverty. And like we said, this form or usage of the word poverty is praised. We are told by the Ahlul Bayt to try to increase our acknowledgement of our dependence on Allah. The second usage of the word poverty within the narrations of Ahlul Bayt is the poverty or lack of religion. This is obviously a usage that is severely condemned within the narrations, for you to lack deen, lack faith, lack iman. This usage has also been explicitly mentioned within the narrations. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, Al-Faqru al-Mawtu al-Ahmar. Poverty is the red death. The Imam says red death because red death, al-Mawtu al-Ahmar, means it's a very gory, bloody, horrific death. Poverty is a tragic death. The narrator of the narration asks the Imam, فَقُلْتُ لَأَبِي عَبْدِ اللَّهِ الْفَقْرُ مِنَ الدِّينَارِ وَالْدِرْهَمِ. O Imam, what usage of the word poverty is described as the red death? Is it poverty of dinar and dirham? Is it financial poverty? He replied, لا, ولكن من الدين. No, poverty in religion. The Imam describes a lack of faith, a lack of deen as a form of gruesome, horrific, gory death for your soul. Another narration from the narrations of Ahlul Bayt that can be understood in this usage is the one we also mentioned in the past episode. Al-Faqru Sawadul Wajh Fid Darain. Poverty is a cause of shame in this world and the next. Now, when reading this narration, we can deduce from its context that the word poverty here isn't being used as material poverty. The narration is not describing material poverty as a cause of shame in this world and the next. That's because material poverty may be a cause of shame in this dunya. It may cause him to beg, it may cause others to resent him. But if this poverty is coupled with sabr, patience, and iman and piety, it wouldn't be a cause of shame in the next world. And the narration describes this usage of poverty as a cause of shame in this dunya and the next. The more fitting understanding, the more fitting usage of the word poverty within this narration would be a lack of deen and faith. For that form of poverty, poverty of deen and faith and religion, is truly what causes shame in this world and in the next. Lack of religion, lack of faith, lack of deen is very dangerous, brothers and sisters. Sometimes, and this is a very important topic that has been hinted to by the narrations of Ahlul Bayt, sometimes people try to run away from material poverty, but fall into poverty in religion. They don't have money, so they start seeking wealth, and they become extremely wealthy, and they start running after the wealth of this dunya, but in doing so, it causes them to fall in a poverty of religion. By gaining wealth, they let go of their deen. Most people don't understand the dangers of material wealth. and the effect it has on your deen. It can easily build within you arrogance, greed, conceit, tyranny, which all diminishes your faith. It diminishes your deen. It diminishes the connection you have with Allah. Sometimes Allah doesn't grant us wealth because He wants to keep our faith, our deen safe. He gives us material poverty so we do not fall into poverty in religion. For some people, exiting material poverty and turning to material wealth means they enter religious poverty. There's a beautiful narration where Allah says, وَإِنَّ مِنْ عِبَادِي مَنْ لَا يُصْلِحُهُ إِلَّا الْفَقْرِ فَلَوْ أَغْنَيْتُهُ لَأَفْسَدَهُ ذَلِكَ. Among my servants are those whom only poverty sets aright. Were I to enrich them, it would corrupt them. It would corrupt their personality. It would corrupt their akhlaq. It would corrupt their deen. It would corrupt their faith. SubhanAllah. Look at this narration. This one narration solves many of the problems we face. And it gives us a sense of peace. We ask Allah for wealth. Oh Allah, give me money, give me wealth, give me land, give me gold. And He doesn't give it to us. Many of us instantly begin nagging and raging, oh Allah, why don't you hear me? Yet we forget that Allah not giving us wealth can be a blessing. Many people don't have the capacity to carry material wealth. If they were given material wealth, they would become arrogant. They would become tyrannical. They would forget God. They would forget deen. For these types of people, it's actually a blessing for Allah not to grant them wealth. Allah could be sparing you. If you ask for wealth and Allah doesn't give it to you right away, it's not that Allah has a problem with you or you are necessarily a sinner. It may be a form of mercy from Allah. Allah within the Holy Quran says, وَعَسَىٰ أَن تُحِبُّوا شَيْئًا وَهُوَ شَرٌ لَكُمْ. Perhaps you love something while it's bad for you. And Allah knows while you do not know. You love and you seek that wealth, but you don't know that it will harm your deen, it will harm your faith. Allah knows, and He won't grant you that wealth to safeguard your deen, to safeguard your faith. It is better, instead of asking for wealth, to ask for firm faith, firm belief in Allah, a firm deen, one that does not shake with material wealth and material worldly positions. Ask Him for the capacity to handle this wealth without it affecting your deen, and then ask for wealth. This is the second usage of the word poverty within our narrations, poverty or lack of religion, which is obviously condemned like we mentioned. The third usage of the word poverty within narrations is poverty of the soul, or what we called inner poverty, spiritual poverty. Poverty of the soul or inner poverty is a soul that is never satisfied, a soul that always feels like it's lacking, a soul that is never content, a soul that's always chasing its desires. This form of poverty is not explicitly mentioned within this narration, but it is hinted to within the narration. خَيْرُ الْغِنَى غِنَى النَّفْسِ. The best kind of wealth is the wealthy, content soul. We can extract from this narration that the most shameful kind of poverty is internal poverty, the lack of contentment. This inner poverty, like we said, affects the soul, and it appears as greed, never being content, always wanting more, jealousy, always chasing desires, always comparing themselves with others and looking over the shoulder to see what others have. They're always chasing titles and positions. We see these types of people all around us. Their whole life is about chasing girls, money, social trends, hype, fame, social media followers, and so on and so forth. This soul is described as an impoverished soul. And this usage of poverty is also obviously condemned by the Ahlul Bayt. These types of people hold no value for their soul. So they are ready to humiliate themselves before politicians and powerful people to get a promotion, a higher rank, to fulfill their desires. They treat people differently based on what they can get out of them. If they see a wealthy person, they treat them with respect. If they see a poor person, they become arrogant and they step over them and they don't treat them with respect. These types of people don't value their soul. They lack respect for their own souls. Imam Rida alayhi salam tells us, describing these people and the punishment that they will face in the akhirah. Imam Rida alayhi salam says, "Man laqiya faqiran musliman, fasallama alayhi khilaf salamihi ala al-ghani, laqiya Allah azza wa jal yawm al-qiyamah wa huwa alayhi ghadban." Whoever greets a poor Muslim differently from how he greets the wealthy will meet God on the day of resurrection while God is angry with him. Look at the beauty of our religion. The same way that you greet the wealthy person, the same respect and ihtiram you put for that wealthy person, that's the same amount that you should put for the poor person. A person who discriminates between the poor and the wealthy in the way he treats them is a person that soul is empty. He has poverty of the soul. He lacks respect for himself and his soul. His metric for whether to treat someone good or bad is if he can gain something from that person. This again shows a deeply weak, empty, lacking soul. And the narrations of Ahlul Bayt warn us from being around these types of people. People that don't value their soul. People that are empty. This is because once a person's soul becomes empty and once he views it as lacking and worthless and he holds no sanctity for his soul, he becomes open to doing anything for worldly gain. He becomes open to doing anything for worldly gain, even if it means screwing you over. Imam al-Hadi alayhi salam says, "Man hanat alayhi nafsuh, fala ta'man sharrah." Whoever sees his own soul as worthless, a person that lacks respect for his soul, he lacks contentment of the soul. He's always chasing something. He's always chasing desires. He's always chasing material gain. He's always looking over the shoulder, seeing what this person has. He's constantly jealous. These people do not feel safe from their evil. Another narration, "Man hanat alayhi nafsuh, fala tarju khayrah." Whoever's soul is cheap in his own eyes, meaning that he's not content, he's always searching for more, do not expect good from them. Why? Because these people are constantly looking to feed their desires at any cost possible. They're always chasing. Run away from them, the narrations say. Because one day will come where they will betray you for the sole purpose of worldly gain and for the sole purpose of fulfilling their desires. A rich, content, wealthy soul is the opposite. It doesn't chase after its desires. It's very stoic in how it conducts itself. In a beautiful narration, the Ahl Bayt say, "Man karumat alayhi nafsuh, sagharat ad-dunya fi aynih." Whoever's soul is noble in his own eyes. He has self-respect. He doesn't chase what others have. He doesn't chase desires. He's content. That person, the world becomes small in his eyes. No matter what happens, one day he loses something, one day something is stolen from him, one day he has everything in the world, one day he has nothing. Because he is content and he has that self-respect, these worldly matters don't affect him. To achieve a rich, content soul that's not always chasing what others have and chasing desires, we must apply the narration of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, "انظر إلى من هو دونك في المقدرة." Look at those below you in circumstances, and do not look at those above you. That will make you more content with what your Lord has appointed to you and more likely to receive increase from Him. If you want a content, rich, wealthy soul that has been praised within the narrations of Ahlul Bayt, you must apply this narration of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Stop comparing yourself with those that have more. Compare yourself with those that have less. There is a famous saying which says, "Comparison is the thief of joy." The narrations of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam say the same thing. Comparing yourself with someone who has more breeds resentment, it breeds jealousy, it breeds that inner poverty, it breeds lack of contentment. It makes you become hungry for more, and you will never be content, and you will never be able to fulfill that internal emptiness, impoverished soul that you have with more belongings. The only way to fill that emptiness in your soul is by enriching your soul, making it a wealthy soul. And how do you make it a wealthy soul? By becoming content. And how do you become content? Apply the words of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Compare yourself to those who have less than you. The fourth and final usage of the word poverty in the narrations of Ahlul Bayt that's stated by the author is material poverty. Material poverty is pretty clear. Neediness in regards to worldly material. If we mean by material poverty lacking the basic means of life, this poverty has been condemned by many reports. Again, we're not discussing material poverty as a whole. Material poverty in its most severe form, that form where it's a form of crushing poverty, that form has been condemned within the narrations of Ahlul Bayt. Imam Ali alayhi salam says to his son Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyya, "Ya bunayya inni akhafu alayka al-faqr." My son, I fear poverty for you, so seek refuge in God from it. Poverty diminishes religion, confuses the mind, and breeds resentment. The Imam describes three effects of this crushing material poverty that one can go through. He says, first, it diminishes religion. While some forms of poverty, like we said, protect a person's faith, severe forms of poverty can ruin a person's faith and belief in Allah. A person begins questioning, oh Allah, are you watching me? Are you seeing what I'm going through? The second effect, it confuses the mind. Poverty can cause psychological and mental issues if it's very severe. It becomes all you think about. And third, it breeds resentment. You begin resenting this world, resenting yourself, resenting other people, and na'udhu billah, it can breed resentment towards Allah. This severe crushing poverty that causes these things is condemned by our religion. And a person should do everything possible, halal of course, to get out of this form of poverty. This usage of poverty, meaning material poverty, is also the one used in the narration we mentioned, مَنْ أَحَبَّنَا أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ فَلْيَسْتَعِدْ لِلْفَقْرِ جِلْبَابًا. Whoever loves us, the Ahl al-Bayt, should ready the jilbab, cloak of material poverty. The Imam here is describing a reality. Throughout time, there is nearly always a government on this earth that continues to restrict the Shi'as on every level, whether it's economically, politically, socially, legally. In some cases, they actively work against the Shia. The Imams are simply preparing us. Being the Shia of Ali in this world has a price. Look at what this dunya did to the embodiment of haqq. The person who the Prophet said, wherever he goes, haqq goes. Look at what this world did to this man. You expect to claim to be one of his followers, and you don't go through a quarter of the hardships that he went through. You, as a follower of this man, expect hardship, expect to be tested within this dunya. Imam Ali alayhi salam himself says, "Man ahabbana falyu'adda lil-bala'i jilbaba." Whoever loves us should prepare a cloak for trials and tribulations. Another narration by Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, "إنما المؤمن بمنزلة كفة الميزان كلما زيد في إيمانه زيد في بلائه." The believer is like one side of a scale. The more his faith increases, the more his trials increase. This is not Allah abandoning the Shia and purposefully bashing them with hardships. No, it's all happening under his watch. As the Quran says, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. We will surely test you with something of fear and hunger and a loss of wealth, lives and fruit. Give good news to the patient. The Quran says, give good news to the patient. You want to be elevated? You want to be granted high levels in paradise? You must be tested. Allah is going to test you. If you are patient throughout this test, Allah will raise you. Allah tests us, tests the believers, so He can elevate them. So He can give them the opportunity to elevate themselves. This is one wisdom behind testing. Allah tests so that we can elevate ourselves. He tests the believers more because He wants them to be elevated. The Quran also states another reason that Allah tests. أَحَسِبَ النَّاسِ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ. The people think that they will be left alone simply because they say we believe and they will not be tested. You say I'm a Shia of Ali. You say I'm a follower of Ali. You say that I follow in the footsteps of Imam Ali alayhi salam and his companions. Prepare yourself to have to prove it. Prepare yourself to prove it through hardships, trials and tribulations. So the narrations of the Ahl al-Bayt are just a warning for the Shia to prepare themselves. Prepare yourself for bala. Prepare yourself for faqr. Prepare for yourself for poverty and hardships. You say you're the follower of Ali. You want to be elevated. Prepare yourself for poverty, trials, tribulations. With that, we finish the first reconciliation method presented by the author. To summarize this first method, we say that there is no contradiction between the narrations that praise poverty and the narrations that condemn poverty. Why? This is because the narrations that condemn poverty are condemning certain usages of poverty, like poverty of the soul, poverty or lack of religion, severe material poverty in some cases, if it affects your deen. While the narrations that praise poverty are praising other usages of the word poverty, like for example, poverty towards Allah, feeling that sense of neediness and dependence on Allah. This is a form and usage of poverty that is praised. Or material poverty, in some instances, if that material poverty is what safeguards your deen and stops you from being a person that lacks deen and faith, then that material poverty is praised. Join us for episode 2, where we will discuss the second reconciliation method presented by the author. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.